Now I want to get into the concept now of sensitivity labels. It's important if you are going to start dealing with your data governance compliance that you have a decent understanding of sensitivity labels and how these sensitivity labels are going to get applied. And we want to start out just by getting a basic understanding of what these things are. So what are sensitivity labels? So sensitivity labels are going to be used to help my organization, business organizations, whatever, be able to determine and identify what is considered sensitive information. And of course, we have what are known as sensitive info types, and sensitive info types allow us to recognize the sensitive information. But then we need to create what's known as a sensitivity label so that we can apply rules and conditions and determine, if we should have something labeled and classified so that we can apply other rules to that, such as data loss prevention rules, which is going to do things like preventing somebody from sharing data that shouldn't be shared if it's got a certain sensitivity label applied to it. These sensitivity labels can be manually applied by your users, and you can also have rules that automate this process as well. But users can manually apply these to documents, emails, all that good stuff as well. Now, how labels actually get applied, how labels apply with sensitivity, that's going to involve the documents themselves or emails. Those are your two big things. You want to be thinking in regards to all the different ways that we work with documents, whether it's SharePoint, Teams, we've got OneDrive, we've got Exchange Online, our email services. Not only that, but we also have applications that we've installed on our local computer. So one thing I want to clarify right out of the gates here, let's go ahead and get this out in the open. A lot of people think that, these labels are only going to work if the document or whatever is out in the cloud. Technically, these labels can be downloaded to local machines that are associated with our Microsoft 365 cloud services. And if you got the proper licensing, it'll apply down to their local installed Office products as well. So Word, Excel, all of that, Outlook, all of that is going to have this stuff applied, these rules applied even locally on people's machines. So it's not just, the online versions of these apps, but it's also the downloaded or installed versions of these locally on your computer as well. And mobile platforms also. So these sensitivity labels can be applied. You can have classified information that gets these labels put on it, and the labels can be visually watermarked, such as with a header or footer, or you have a diagonal watermark that goes along the screen as well, which I'll show you here in just a moment. Here's the basic flow of using labels. So an administrator is going to create the sensitivity labels that they want. Basically set up how they want things to be labeled. They're going to publish these sensitivity labels in what's called a label policy. The policy can be applied to specific users or groups. Okay, so pretty simple idea. You create the label, you set up the policy that's going to apply to users and groups. Now, the end user themselves are going to be able to utilize these via email products, Outlook, whatever. Whether it's Outlook on the web or if it's the downloadable or installed version of Outlook, mobile version of Outlook. And then you also have documents with this as well, where your documents themselves, Word, Excel, all that fun stuff, can have labels associated as well. All right. And so it's the end user can interact with all of this and have documents classified with these labels that they want. So if I had a label that was called top secret or something, or business confidential or something along those lines, I could have that available to the user so they can apply it to the actual product itself, to the actual document through the product itself. Okay, so Office or third-party app services can have enforced protection settings that get put on it. And this can all tie into data loss prevention policies, and we can have automated things happen where the labels get automatically applied and rules get applied that force things to be encrypted or stop a user from sharing data and basically give us a bigger measure of control over our data. Now here is the licensing requirements. Basically the key word here is, or the key number I should say, is the number 5. You want to have any of the E5, A5, G5, and even F5 with F5 compliance will give you what you need for a user. So your users will have to, in order to really interact and associate classification, sensitivity labels, and all that in a product, they must have one of these licenses that you see here in these 5 bullet points. All right. So keep that in mind. You would need to make sure that you've got licenses for one of these associated with your users before they can really take advantage of sensitivity labels. Assigning sensitivity labels. So sensitivity labels are customizable. You can go in and create and name them what you want, and there's different settings and all that you can apply there. There's here some of the examples of that would be things like personal, public, general, confidential, highly confidential, and you could come up with some others based on your business. These are clear text labels, so they get applied in clear text, and they're part of the metadata of the file. So they get associated with the metadata of the file, which is really cool because it also means that third-party products that can understand the metadata sensitivity label tags and all that, they can recognize it as well. So it's not just only Office that supports it. Other products can support it as well. And then these also, they have a persistency to them. So the labels are stored as part of the metadata. They're not part of the actual payload of the data itself, like the document itself. It's associated as metadata, which is connected to that. So you can have you can basically have this associated in the metadata, and you can have policies that apply to it based on that metadata. If you look in the little image I've got for you here, you'll see that the user is looking at Outlook, and you'll see that the message right there on that email, it's flagged as public. So this is public information, has a sensitivity label associated with it saying that it's public. All right. And finally, what sensitivity labels can do? Well, again, you can apply rules to sensitivity labels. These rules are going to make it where I can have things like encryption rules where a document is going to be forcibly encrypted. And this will tie in with data loss prevention and all that to do that. There's a feature called rights management that we have supported that does the encryption for us. And great thing about it is it encrypts your data in all 3 states. So it encrypts the data when it's at rest, in use, and in transit, which means that even if somebody copies it somewhere, or maybe they accidentally send it to somebody that they weren't supposed to send it to, the document's going to be encrypted. So even if it somehow managed to get on a flash drive, or it got emailed to somebody or copied somewhere, it's going to be encrypted in all the different states that it's being used in. The other thing is you can watermark it. You can do marking, and that's what you're seeing in the little image here. You'll see that it has a marking on it. You've got watermarks, headers, footers, and then you can have that little background watermark that you see there. It says highly confidential that can show up on all the pages of the document. So that's another nice little feature about it. The other thing that I don't have shown here is that you can have these things called policy tips where whenever your system automates the process of locating that it needs to be a label on that document, you can have a little message that pops up on the screen that tells the user that they should probably set a sensitivity label for this document. And that's one of the neat things about sensitivity labels is the automation side of all of this. Some of it can be automated where when sensitive information gets discovered, you get a policy tip that basically says, hey, you need to, this document needs to be labeled as sensitive. And of course, if you mix this with data loss prevention, you can force that sort of thing to happen so that a user, whether they do it or not, it's going to be enforced. So all in all, sensitivity labels is a really powerful feature that we can utilize in our environment to basically set these labels up so that they can be applied by our users or even automated. And with that, we can set restrictions based on those labels.